Shalom. Let me get straight into this lesson. Right, but the spirit jumped on me to go into the great awakening. We seeing a plethora of people, come to our channel. You got our people trying to see what the truth is all about. They got an interest. And let me say this as well. This truth is only for the elect of the nation of Israel. You might have people that come in for a time or a season, and they might understand some of the truth, but you got to get the full truth. And that's why you have to be taught. This is the learning phase. Before we go into the kingdom, you have to learn these things so the Lord can start to feed you. So I'm gonna get into this little short video, but you seeing the great awakening of the Israelites, and it started with Abba Bibbins, going into the so-called New Testament, being able to, you know, break down Yahweh Shah parables and the kingdom of heaven and all those mysteries that had been locked up. So, the spirit is on us to bring these lessons out so we can edify the body, you know what I'm saying? Because you ain't learned nothing in the Christian church. And if you really being honest about yourself, you know you haven't learned nothing in the Christian church. That's why we can ask our people basic trivial questions about the Bible that, some Edomites even know. They don't even know nothing, you know? So I'm gonna get into this short video, but I want to make this distinction as well. There's no such thing as black people. There's no such thing as white people. And I'm going to keep saying it because repetition is how you come, like they've been telling you, they've been telling you for years and years that you black. So we have to, undo that brainwashing by being repetitious with this so-called black and so-called white. You got to catch yourself when you saying these terms, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to get into this short video real quick.
It matters, bro.
Salakia.
Jesus is black. Yeah, I know what you're saying. It doesn't matter. It matters, bro. We stole an entire identity from these people. The entire Bible is a redemptive story about black people. From going from last to they're going to be first, bro. The entire Bible is like the redemption of a race that was being used for slavery since the beginning of time. This is why black people are superior to white people. This is why they can run faster. They have harder heads. This is why they can jump higher. They're the chosen race of God. It's so in your face, dude. You read the Bible, there's that Jesus.
Salakia. And I will give this Salakia.
There's that Jesus.
I don't know what the heck. Yeah, this I will get this Edomite looking guy because this guy could be a Jake. That's the mysteries that the world don't understand. A lot of our people don't understand as well. They still bound by that, but it is what it is. But the point is, all these lies been taught to you, and how come he know things that you don't know? Let me say it like this: How do this Edomite looking guy know things our people should know? Let me say it like that. I'm talking about people that's into the religion of Christianity. They don't do any study. So let's go here, man. Ezekiel 37:1 is going into those dry bones, the representation of us being in the dead, destitute state, not knowing who we were. I'm gonna get into this. Ezekiel 37:1. It says, Then the hand of Yahweh was upon me. Anytime you see Lord in all capital letters, when you look the word up, it goes back into the Most High name. And a lot of people got that bad calling him all these different names. He got one true name like you got a name. His name Yahweh. Not Yah, not Yahweh, not Elohim and all those other names. It says, and carried me out in the spirit of Yahweh, and set me down in the midst of the valley which was full of bones, a representation of the house of Israel being, in a ignorant state of mind and knowing who they were. Ezekiel 37:2. And caused me to pass by them round about, and behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. They were very dry. Let's keep going. Okay, and he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shah, thou knowest. Let's keep going. 37:4. Again he said unto me, prophesy unto these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. Let's keep going. 37:5, and thus said Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter in, and ye shall live. We're going to wake up to, we Israelites. We're going to understand the mysteries of the Bible. We're going to understand what the Bible is properly talking about. We're going to understand God ain't all love. We're going to understand his true name. We're going to understand Yahweh Shah was a so-called black man. All these things that we've been lied to about. Let's keep going. Ezekiel 37:6, and I will lay sewings upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath into you to represent us coming back into that knowledge, being enlightenment, enlightening with the truth, being enlightenment, knowledge, wisdom, understanding, to be able to understand these parables and all these different mysteries that's been closed off. Understand first off, we Israelites, we're not black people. We're not Hispanic. We're not Native American. Them all bywords that's been put upon us. It says, and put breath in you, and ye shall live. That's what we're doing right now. We got 2/3 of our people that's not going to come out of that black culture, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Hispanic culture, Native American culture. They're locked into that. That's going to be their destiny. They can't. It's nothing they can do about it. This doctrine is only for the elect of the nation Israel. Let's keep going. It says, and put breath in you, and ye shall live, and ye shall know that I'm Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. That's why we exalt the name of the Lord Yahweh and the Son named Yahushua, because he's the only one that brought us back from death, in the metaphoric sense. And in the physical, because we was, when you go by the philosophies of this world, it's death. You know what I'm saying? You're just waiting on your day. It's all, vain. It's the book of Baruch 2:30. So why we seeing an influx of brothers and sisters waking up? Because we're at the last push before all these different major prophecies start to take place. The Lord trying to gather his elect up right now with the word and bind them together so he can go ahead and bring this destruction. It's the book of Baruch 2:30. For I knew that they would not hear me, because it's a stiff-necked people. When you go to this word stiff-neck, it's stubborn. The Israelites by nature is a stubborn people, but the elect will be able to come out of that and be able to be taught so they can wake up to who they were. But the 2/3, they done. They already set in their way. But in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves. So to go to prove to you that the Israelites will still be in captivity, they wouldn't be able to establish, the land of Israel like the J people, which them are Edomites, them Amalekites, that set that up pursuant to the book of Ezekiel 36:5, that the Idumea will appoint the land of Israel into their possession. They fully fulfilled that prophecy in 1948, Balfour Declaration. So if you still see this guy in your mind, and let me show you some witchcraft that they do. So when you put the name J down and you go to images, by default, this comes up. This comes up. So this is the mental image that people see in their mind when you say the J name. That's why when you wake up, you get that breath back in you, you understand that the Messiah, this will be a more accurate representation of the Messiah right here. More accurate depiction. This picture right here. This is the picture that's described in the Bible. But our people in love with this guy because this mental image has been beat inside of their mind ever since they was kids. And this guy came not only with his image, Cesare Borgia came with a personality. They actually gave this idol a personality. How about that? And that's why when we come across harsh sometimes, our people in their mind be like, that's not of God, because they infatuated, they've been indoctrinated to this guy personality. Not only just the image, but this guy personality, but this is an idol. But there's nothing new for our people. Judges 10:14. It says, go and cry unto the gods which you have chosen. Right here. Right here. So you seeing the same thing happen again. It says, read this again. It says Judges 10:14, and it's the Israelites. They got a legacy of doing this. It says, go and cry unto the gods which you have chosen. Let them deliver you in the time of tribulation, of your tribulation. Right here. This is who our people cried to, the idol. And the same thing that they did back then is nothing new. So if you've been analytical in your mind, you can see a pattern. You can see exactly what's going on. You can see you was force fed lies through the institution of the Christianity. Now, whether it be Baptist, Methodist, Presbyterian, Lutheran, Seventh Day Adventist, what else? You got the Mormons, you got the Latter Day Saints, and it just goes on and on. But all these are different branches of Christianity that stem from the Catholic Church. All right, so let's go here. I want to kind of elaborate on this. The Great Awakening that you're seeing is beautiful. That's why you got brothers and sisters inquiring about the truth. They want to know, they want to be taught. They designed to be taught because they haven't been fulfilled in the Christian church. In the Great Awakening of the Israelites. And they ain't just know anybody, it's the Israelites. Let's go here. I want to show you something. Right here. The vision of the dry bones. That's why I just came from Ezekiel. It says at the very top, the prophet Ezekiel saw a vision of a valley of dry bones coming to life. It says God, Yahweh, explained that this represents the whole house of Israel that had lost hope. The vision promises a future of restoration of Israel, both their land and with a renewed spirit. That's a cut on all this other madness, the new covenant. So we're not in the new covenant. And you got some bug outs that's teaching that false doctrine. No, we're not in the new covenant. Who's the new covenant going to be with? Because you've been taught in Christianity that it's going to be the Christian church. I got some heavy lessons coming up dealing with a lot of different false doctrines, a lot of these different entanglements that our people get tripped over, up over these false doctrines and these strongholds, and they got to be broken down. Right here, the new covenant. It says the prophet Jeremiah spoke of the future new covenant, and it's going to break it down what it's talking about. When we go to scriptures, Jeremiah 31 and 31, and that precepts with Hebrews 8 and 8, that Yahweh would make with the house of Israel and Judah, the house of Judah. Why is that? Because they split into two different kingdoms. There was Jeroboam and Rehoboam, if I'm not mistaken. That's what Solomon died in. The kingdom split. You had the northern kingdom was known as Israel, and the southern kingdom was known as the house of Judah. That's why it says that he's gonna bring them back together as one collective nation of Israel when King David sat on the throne. The reunification of the 12 tribes as one collective kingdom. It says where he would put his laws within them, and write it into their hearts. Going to show you that it counsels out Christians. This is talking about the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Bring them together, one collective nation, and that's going to be the kingdom of heaven, which is the kingdom of Israel by default. But Christians don't understand that because they're not meant to understand. They're going to stay trapped up in Christianity. They're going to stay trapped up with them false doctrines of Christianity to keep you disentangled in that web of lies and confusion. But we're able to break out of that through the spirit, right, of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah, that woke you up. This is great awakening that we're seeing, and it's gonna only intensify. Like, when you put oxygen, you put wind to a fire. It's gonna only intensify. So people gonna start talking about this within the families and within jobs, and so on and so forth. It's like a wildfire. It cannot be contained because the spirit is on fire right now. Right? Hopefully, this lesson was edifying. Call Hallah Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah Bahashim Rachak Kodash Shalom.